Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Saâd Kadhi and I'm the leader of the Hive project. I'm going to make an overview of what the Hive, Cortex and MISP can do together and how they improved since last year when I presented them the first time during the MISP summit. Let's begin with a small overview. So the Hive project is basically, our goal is to drive the time to detect and react, and also contribute back to the community, which helped us a lot in the last 10 years or so. And how we do this through alert and event collection, as some of the speakers have already demonstrated, through automation and collaboration within the platforms. What do? We produce different tools for incident response and digital forensics, but also for cyber threat intelligence, but that's mostly the MISP part of the trio. So we created TheHive, then later Cortex, which was basically embedded in TheHive in the first version that we released to the public back in November 2016. We also have a number of libraries to make the interaction with the RESTful API very easy, such as TheHive 4P and Cortex 4P. We also produce what we call feeders, like integration with Digital Shadows, ZeroFox, but also Synapse, which is our first, I would say, meta feeder, which now supports Exchange and Office 365, but soon enough it will also support QRadar and other sources of alerts and cases. Who we are a core team of 6 members. We are 3 here. Jerome is sitting somewhere there. Niels, I don't know where you are, back there. And 3 others are working while we are having fun. And a large community of contributors, mainly from SOCSI, CERT, and certs, for example, such Andrea here, and I see a lot of contributors here as well. We also have Sébastien and Xavier, whose analyzer is going to be mentioned shortly. We started developing TheHive back in February 2014. The first version was released internally in October 2014, and we didn't want, I would say, yet another open source project that was just a POC, and then count on the community to work on it and make it work, hopefully. When we were satisfied with it and we were, it was working for us, we had like 12 analysts working on it day by day. We released it back in November 2016 with the same license as MISP. Getting back to the integration, I'm going to fly fast through these slides because basically we will share all those slides afterwards. You can read that later. But the more important features are, I would say, coming from the integration of Cortex, MISP in TheHive through their ability of working together. And we are going to see that shortly. So I'm just going to insist a bit on Cortex because currently it has 93 analyzers, so 93 different ways of analyzing things. Most of those analyzers come from the community. And it has now the ability to also to respond. So we implemented active response in the very last version. And basically it allows you to interact with your constituency or your IT environment as well. And TheHive can leverage one or multiple Cortex instances, for example, for OPSEC reasons. But also Cortex can be used, can also leverage MISP for additional analysis possibilities. As for MISP, it's MISP Summit, so I hope you already all know all that. But the most important thing is that TheHive can import from or export to multiple MISP instances or do both at once. But also MISP can contact Cortex using the latest version, because we had a bug on both sides, for indicator enrichment. So as for the workflow, so within TheHive, it's pretty, I would say, easy to understand. Everything is a case. So a case equals an investigation. And within the case, you can have one or multiple tasks, for example, with identification, malware analysis, containment, eradication, and so on. And you can group those tasks, so creating task groups. And within each task, you have one or many logs. And a case has 0 or multiple observables. which you can analyze through Cortex, as I said. And this generate analysis reports as demonstrated, for example, by Andrea. And you can create your investigations from case templates that you can import and export from different instances. By the way, TheHive is vertically and horizontally scalable, which means that you can throw as many instances as you would like. And also it uses Elasticsearch for storage. So again, you can add as many nodes as you'd like to. For creating cases, you can rely on alerts that come from different sources, but also, and most certainly from MISP. And so the integration between the three is basically this triangle, which you saw an earlier version of it. It was improved since last year. So basically, TheHive, as I said, can receive alerts and cases from multiple sources using feeders, which are basically simple Python code leveraging TheHive 4P. It can export cases to MISP. It can import events from MISP, again, as many instances as you'd like to. Well, that's theoretical. In practice, we only tested it with 4. So I don't know who might have 5 or more MISP instances. And also, it can leverage, as I said, many Cortex instances for doing analysis, but also respond. And responders could be, for example, answering an email from your one of your constituents reporting a suspicious email. Opening a ticket with Jira, for example, to interact with your IT team to ask them, for example, to block an IP address at the proxy level, or any other action that can be automated. TheHive has also the ability to use webhooks, so you can, for example, create an application on the other end that would trigger on different, I would say, keywords. For example, in a task log, I write block IP at the, in the proxy, and that application might do what our responder can do is basically interact with the Jira ticketing system or any other ticketing system, and then get back, I would say, the results and feed them automatically back to TheHive through the RESTful API. Many possibilities. So speaking about events, MISP events, so they show up like this in the alert pane of TheHive. So we have a few here. And when you click on one, you can preview it. And then from there, you can import it. But before doing that, you have to create a case template. So an example here, very readable, certainly from the end of the room, is basically have a number of tasks or have communication tasks, some tasks that relate to the 6-step process of the SANS. And once I have that, I can just click on yes, import, or ignore new updates or mark as read. But I can also force a different template than the default one. And once I do that, I have my case here. And I can see on the right side the what we call the real-time stream, where like a Twitter-like feed, where you see what's happening in the platform in real time. Then if I go, for example, to the observables, so the attributes of the MISP event all became observables, and I can like have stats and filter them out and start doing my analysis through Cortex. So here, another example where basically I added one, I imported the event, I started working on it, and the creator of the event has added one new attribute. So automatically when he does that, it will appear in TheHive, but with that little loop instead of, I would say, a document. That's because you have already created a case out of that event, and automatically the new attribute arrive in your case. You don't have to do anything to do that. So you can see that I've added one attribute, and now I have like 42, and I have also a relationship with another case, because that new observable I added is an IOC, and it's already been seen in another case as well. And the new observable is at the bottom of the screen, so it's an IP address. I keep the different tags I had in MISP. And if I want to analyze it, so I just like click on it, action, run analyzer, select one of the analyzers. So, for example, the DShield from Xavier, or VirusTotal get report. So the live stream is populated. So when it's finished, I'm also warned that it has finished analyzing. And I have all those mini reports. For example, we see like the D-Shield score is pretty elevated for that one. And when I see the full report of the analyzer, I can have this little icon on the right side, which is show observable. So again, a new addition of TheHive 3.1 and Cortex 2.1 is the ability to auto-extract observables that I can add, like by going there, just select them and add them to my case, and again, therefore starts working back. If for example, I want to contribute back and share back to MISP, and in the case that the user I'm using in TheHive is not part of the organization that has created the event, instead of throwing an error, say, well, you don't have the right to do so, we leverage a pretty nifty feature of a MISP project called extended events. So basically, instead of, submitting a proposal or something like that, we just extend the original event. But you can create also a new event in other instances if you have the right to do so. In this case, again, taking back my IP address that I have analyzed, and I added a new domain up there. So I've analyzed it using FortiGuard and also VT. And I say, okay, this one is an IOC. So I tag it as such. So is IOC yes? So I just click there. And then I export back to my MISP instance. Since the original event was created by Circle, I don't have the right to write there. So basically, it will use the extended event functionality. And in this case, I can see that in the bottom, I have, so up there, I see the Circle logo. So this is the original event. In above it, it's the extended event. And also, it's not published. So when TheHive sends something to MISP, you have to review it there, sanitize it. For example, data types, categories, and so on, before publishing it. And you can see now that I have added this one at the bottom with the different elements from TheHive. So I added a comment in TheHive, which appears here in MISP. And there are other functionality between MISP, TheHive, and Cortex. So basically, TheHive can monitor the connection health it has with all the Cortex instances and all the MISP instances it has. And if, for example, if you have like 3 MISP instances and one of them is failing, the MISP logo at the right bottom corner of the page will show with an outer circle in orange, and then you can click on About and see which one is failing. You can also tailor your MISP settings in the configuration in several ways. For example, you can just import certain events that have, I would say, a max attributes per event, or you can blacklist tags, blacklist organizations, and so on. And in the future, so Q4 of this year, we are going also share sightings. So TheHive supports sightings, and we are going to share those sightings in MISP. But also, we are going to implement organization and tag whitelisting. Currently, we only do blacklisting. And in Karnika 2, which is like a code name for TheHive 4, we will add support for MISP objects. Because it requires a lot of work on our side. We use Elasticsearch, and we are going to highly likely migrate to a GraphDB in order to support new functionality we have in mind, and also MISP object. And also next year, we are going to add taxonomy support using MISP. Because currently we are doing this, like I would say, in a not a very structured way. And on Wednesday, we are going to have a joint workshop here. Pretty fine since last year, because we have done it in many places throughout the world. So you're welcome to step in if you'd like to know more. Thank you.